Alrighty, rise and shine, everybody. Good morning, good morning, morning. Hope you're doing well. Happy Thursday. I am wave meteorologist Brian Good on this Thursday morning. Brian, by the way, thank you for the picture of the snow you had there into Wilmington, Ohio earlier this week. I believe they officially said it was a trace, but it looked like you got at least a couple of tenths or a little bit more, perhaps, on the grassy areas there into Ohio. So, Brian, Richard there into Ohio. Already has had snow on the ground this season. That's all right. That's all right. All right. Our turn's coming. Our turn's coming. I just don't know when yet, but our turn is coming. I hope you guys are doing well. It is a bright and sunny morning. Welcome to the blog. It is, for now, Snow Talk. I got a feeling that I may have to switch it to Storm Talk tomorrow. And the time may be a little adjusted tomorrow, depending on the data that comes in. If it looks like I need a little more data for tomorrow, then I may hold off for a midday update. We'll see, especially if there's any chance at some strong wind potential out of this, which is certainly possible. We'll cover that in a second. As always, you guys can comment on the chat system, whether it's on social media, Facebook, X, or on YouTube. You have a chance to say hello, like Janice just did. Hello, Janice. Hope you're doing well. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'll cover the snowboard, which I'll be honest with you, it's not that impressive. Not a shocker there. Here's the thing on the first item, though. The brief mix to the east. That is still possible. South and east of Louisville. I'm not seeing Louisville as much in this zone as what I did earlier this week, or Indiana, for that matter. Yeah, no, kind of a bummer there. But there is something that I may have to extend on this, and that would be maybe flurries Sunday night into Monday, but it too would be minor. And I did take the second item off, not only just because the idea that it looks kind of like a bummer in the extent. It doesn't. It does look more interesting as we head into the last part there of December. I just think I, for now, need to keep that item off, and then let me get past the system, and then we'll see if we can get that item or items back on the board. So just kind of explaining where we are there. All right, but today, yes, It is nice. It's nice to get warmer air back in. It's been kind of the theme, right, for the autumn season. I have these little warm surges every once in a while, but it's nice to get on a Thursday and Friday, yeah. But I can tell you right now, you're not going to have as much of this beautiful blue sky tomorrow as what we're going to have today. So today will be the pick of the week. Won't be overly warm, but compared to the past few days, it will feel like 70 in our mindsets compared to what we've had the past few days. All right, you got, well, it's a clean sweep on the satellite. There is actually several high fin cirrus and some contrails that are up there. You just can't really see them yet, but they're there. The snow is falling across areas of the mid-Atlantic, heading toward Jersey, not far from the Jersey Shore. Maybe over at the Situations House. There is some snow there. Meanwhile, to the west, we were keeping an eye on the main system itself, moving into the Rockies. And this is, again, a two-pronged ordeal, and it is a bit complex. I feel like I threw a lot of data out at you guys yesterday. I'm going to show you some more, but hopefully I'm going to try to explain it in a little more of a localized issue that we've got the best I can. So just let me know. At any point, just tap in here and say, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. And don't just do that on purpose. I really mean it. If you do have a question, let me know. All right, the severe threat. Ashley, I know you're probably in here. I promise you I'm watching this. The severe threat as we head into Friday starts across areas of northeast of the Metroplex into about the Ozarks. Low wind risk. That does expand more as we head into Saturday. This is where the max heating of the day is. But they are also closer to the moisture pool that's coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. So as soon as the front, and this is how it goes 95% of the time on fronts and severe weather, is once the boundary and the wind flow, which starts about here, once it gets right over to where the water can be pulled in, moisture from the Gulf, that is when your severe begins to blossom. And that's usually the case all the way over, even as you get to the East Coast. It continuously has something to pull from in the Gulf of Mexico. If we didn't have the Gulf of Mexico, we likely would not have many tornadoes at all or severe weather across the lower 48. But just because of the geography and the way that, we live here in this spot. So that's the reason why we have this kind of a setup most of the time. Now, the question is, of course, how far north do we take this potential? And it's a little more complex in the cold season, which is what we're in. In the spring and summer season, it's a little easier to kind of figure out how that will be on more context level. But then in this situation, even if we just have a band of heavy showers and very heavy rainfall, the wind fields are strong enough aloft, you can still get a severe thunderstorm wind gust limit, but you may not always have lightning. So that's where it becomes a challenge for the Weather Service in these kind of scenarios too, is because it's not technically, in some cases, a thunderstorm. It's just a wall of heavy rain, but you've got the chance to get damaging winds. Now, I do think in this scenario, they would issue severe thunderstorm warnings because there is actually a better than normal chance this time of year of seeing some lightning with this. So I do think that will be a little easier for them. But I can't rule it out. Even though we may not be fully outlooked or have any severe threat that's outlooked for the area, I can't rule out something that could get triggered for damaging winds. Just on the wind fields alone, that is possible. These maps, though, are for organized severe weather, is how they're drawn. They don't account for the one-offs of one or two warnings that can happen. This is for where they feel there could be several that could actually take place in a general area, and that's where these maps are drawn from. So that it's, I try to give it context. Even though we're not in the green shade, there is that potential. And to explain that a little more is by looking at other data sources that try to predict severe weather that are not drawn up by humans. These are the top left here is the analogs for severe weather. Let me bring this full so you can see it. So I know most of you are on mobile. You can see that it's very similar to SPC, the outlook. In fact, nearly identical. It does push a little more into Kentucky. I think that's fair. I think that is actually a very good looking map for your severe potential is Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee. And I would throw Hopkinsville, maybe Bowling Green in that for isolated severe. But notice that the learning module from Colorado State, and these break down in individual threats. It did add a low-end tornado risk right along central Kentucky, low-end damaging wind, and a low-end hail. So it does try to bring it more north into wave country. That is a change. It has not done that so far this week. So this is the first time it's doing that. And it's really just sensitive little things, little minor increases in instability that lead to maps that get generated like that. So it's not a huge concern right now, but I just want to make sure to stress that make sure you have a way to get alerts in case something were to get issued. And this would be Saturday evening. I'll show you the maps in a second. If it were to even happen, we just always try to keep an eye on these situations in the cold weather season because you're not exactly in that mode, right? You've got the Christmas tree up, you got decor outside, you're going to the holiday party to enjoy watching Christmas Vacation. And the last thing you are expecting is the NOAA weather radio to go off or the wave weather app for a severe thunderstorm warning. I totally understand that. So just make sure you have everything kind of activated and turned on and weather radio is ready to go just in case something were to hit. And especially if you have friends or family over to put their mind at ease, so you got everything you need to be notified. I just don't want to, again, blow it up as a big threat here. It's just a low end risk, but I do think it's fair to say there could be alert that gets issued. And we'll watch this. The next 24 hours, we're going to get more data. And this could go either way. We could see this increase or we could see it really just fade out altogether. So that is certainly possible. All right, so that's the severe side of this. Let me show you the actual maps. Today we're good. Tomorrow we start to increase more and more of these clouds. In fact, we'll start tonight doing that, so it won't be as cold tonight. Tomorrow, this particular in-house model is a little cool. It's not getting into the 60s. I think we'll at least get to that mark. It's really aggressive here on bringing in not only clouds, but moisture into Saturday. In fact, some of the questions I'm getting is when will the rain start Saturday? Well, that's a little difficult because in this warm flow, when you generate this into the Ohio Valley, especially in a drought scenario, we may have a lot of virga on the on the radar, which would be the rain that shows up, but it may not be reaching the ground yet. So the radar may look active, but the reality of what's in the ground may not be there. I do think we will start to generally see showers develop, but the problem with Saturday's timing, as far as when it starts, it's going to be staggered. It's going to be very blotchy. It's not just a wall of rain like a squall line or anything like that that is going to approach. It is going to be just a general increase in rainfall as the day wears on. So the timing of when it starts will vary on your location, but in general, as you head through the day, the chances will start to go up. Now we get into the evening time period, and this is where we start to see the chance to maybe get a thunderstorm that could develop. But here's the challenge, and this is where I try to get a little more into the weeds, right? We get into Saturday. I mentioned the low pressure. It's up here to the north, and the one that wants to form basically across Tennessee as well. There is a trade-off that happens here. This is not normally the case. Now, I will say if we didn't have the second piece that tried to form, we probably would have a much more of a worry on severe weather. The second piece will try to disrupt that somewhat. I think the issue is not so much on severe thunderstorms. The issue is the rainfall amounts are going to be a challenge because there is some bust potential here. We are betting on the idea we're going to have some rain from the northern wave front that's going to move in on Saturday afternoon and give us some rain and some thunder. But later on Saturday night, there is actually a secondary wave that is going to develop, as I mentioned, right over the Tennessee Valley. But how fast does that happen and where? If it develops too late and then heads off to the east, just about every model, by the way, develops it. So that's good. Confidence is high that it's going to develop. Confidence is low on the exact placement and how fast it'll happen because there will be a sharp cutoff to where some of you may not see much at all on the heavier rain out of this second slug, while others could see several inches of rain. I'm talking about 1 to 3 inches could fall in your backyard. That's quite the dramatic difference here. So that's why I'm saying there is some bust potential when that second wave it ignites. This model seems to want to try to develop it right over the core of wave country and then move it off to the east. Again, this will be Saturday night. This would be a mess if it develops on the roads. It's going to be windy outside all day, but the winds will be enhanced when we get that line to move through rain and thunder. And then when that second wave hits, you're really going to notice it on the radar. The radar is going to really light up, and the line itself of rainfall, you're going to actually see it just start to expand. And that's going to be just a general heavy rainfall. Central and East Kentucky right now look to be more prime. Indiana, you guys are the ones that are a little more at risk. You could miss out altogether. We'll see. Here's an example. This is just one rainfall map. Look at the difference on the rain total. This is why we're like, whew, okay, this is going to be a fun forecast. Seymour, 0.3, getting all the way down to Campbellsville, 4 inches of rain. All right. So why is it showing the 4? Well, it's the enhancement, but it also is betting on the idea of thunderstorms, which enhances rainfall rates. So it's got more of a thunderstorm look to it. So that's the reason why you get your higher totals. We're not quite to the point where we're going to start getting specific totals yet. I will say what we're going with is generally the potential is there for an inch or more. Some of you could certainly fall on the lower end of that scale, but some could be way higher. I'm hoping in the next 12 to 18 hours, we're going to be able to get a little more of a specific map that we can draw up on totals for those of you in certain areas, whether you're in Marion County watching right now, whether you're in North Vernon or back in Paoli. We get it because that's a significant difference on impact is that kind of a rainfall. Just know we're watching it. We'll be able to fine tune this a little more, but I think at the moment, Kentucky stands a much greater potential to see that second wave expand than Indiana will be. But it's all about the timing. And when something develops, we say this a lot in the summertime with thunderstorms, when something is trying to develop over you, that makes it a challenge on trying to adjust. Like we hand type in your hourly forecast in the Wave Weather app. So we're trying to type in when the surge of the rain chance based on your county and where you're at. So you're going to see likely different surges depending on where you're at. We're going to be fine tuning that really starting today. But again, in the next 12 to 18 hours, we'll be able to narrow it down even more. So hope that makes sense. That's just the rainfall part. Type 1 if you got it. Type 1 if you're cool with understanding how that plays out. And you understand that you're going to have to keep checking back in on the forecast. Because I can tell you, with this kind of a setup, this is going to change. It's just way too sensitive right now to not change. So check back in. You promise? Don't let me down. All right. Got a lot of ones. Thank you, Tina, Angie, Judy, Tim, Shonda, Angela, Jimmy. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So what about the snow side? I mean, that's right here, right? Well, that is also a challenge only because of that secondary low that forms. It does get strong. It does pull in the cold air, but because it all seems to want to happen a bit late, it's really going to be more of an issue of the cat and mouse game, the way I always call this, when the cold air tries to catch up with that surge that expands. The radar expands, rain forms. Here comes the cold, but the cold's going east. The rain's going east, and it's a matter of can they catch each other or will it just be a constant race? Well, I do think they eventually will meet up. But at the moment, it looks like they're going to meet up more in eastern Kentucky than they will, say, along I-65. So at the moment, if you're in Frankfort, you're in Lawrenceburg, all the way down, even Gravel Switch, if you're down there in Marion County, you may have a better potential to see a brief mixture. But here's the thing, it's brief. So if you're not awake when this is happening, you're going to miss it altogether. All right, it's going to be very, very brief, very, very minor. So I don't want to play this up even more. Much more of a big ordeal to the east. Now, I mentioned yesterday this could change. You know, the Icon model, the German model, was really blowing it up. What would allow that to happen? Well, the low would have to slow down. The cat and mouse game would have to happen a little more in a dramatic fashion. That low that develops over us would have to just stall. Give it some time, let the cold air come into town and catch up with it. Oh, if that happens, then there you go. That's money in the bank there. But so far, there's nothing that we're able to find that is going to slow it down. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it in the next 12 to 18 hours. There's a lot to watch. Our eyes are going everywhere, trying to keep an eye on this. But at the moment, it's more about the rainfall is the bigger issue on this than I do think, certainly on the wintry side. All right. But again, Sunday night into Monday, there is a backlash here off the Great Lakes that could squeeze out some flurries. The moisture levels are not exactly very deep here. They're relatively shallow, but it's possible. I've seen this happen before, but it may be an issue where it's North Vernon over to Frankfort again, and it may get flurries. If you're down in, say, Grayson County, you may be too far south and west of that turn here to get flurries Sunday night into Monday. The only issue there is we'll be colder, we'll be a little more into the freezing mark area, so we'll keep an eye on that, but it would be light. After that, well, things get relatively quiet. There's a weak system here in the middle of the week. We're still trying to figure out what this is trying to do. It's trying to generate precipitation, but right now I'm not seeing much of a signal there. We'll keep a low chance in. Otherwise, this cutoff low is still cut off from the main flow, doesn't know where to go. It just kind of wonders. We're thinking at some point next weekend it'll arrive, but it should arrive in the form of rain because we got to get underneath the upper low if you're going to get snow. And right now, without much of an eastern push here, it's going to be a little tough to get this thing east. Once it does get east, maybe something a little more interesting could develop down the road. Keeping an eye on the polar vortex in the core of the cold aloft. Well, it is trying to do the stretching event. It is very cold in Siberia, and it's been very cold into Europe. Meanwhile, I should at least mention record warmth into Mexico, 104, one of the hottest temperatures in the northern hemisphere ever in December. So right now, the northern hemisphere is going through some quite extremes, and we'll see how this plays out for late December. But the core of the cold is trying to drop down. I don't think it's got much of a staying power at the moment, and that is the wrong graphic. Sorry about that. I put the wrong one in. Oops. Anyway, I was going to show you the winds off polar vortex. They try to weaken the Arctic oscillation. The AO goes negative. The EPO goes negative. The PNA goes positive. What do all those letters mean? Trying to indicate still a switch to colder for the end of December. We'll see if that happens. If we can get anything wintry out of it, I don't know. As I mentioned before, these events, when they show the signal like that, they do tend to be delayed. So nothing yet we can put in the forecast, but we'll keep an eye. We got our hands full just in the next 24 hours alone, guys. So stay tuned to the outlook as we head into the next 24 hours. Enjoy today, though. Get outside, take the dog walking. Beautiful outside. Enjoy tomorrow as well. If you got plans on Saturday, though, especially Saturday night, stay close to the forecast. If you're going to be doing any traveling, especially, again, it could get quite messy on the area roads there. I'll have more on this coming up on midday. I'll see you then, guys.